Hey, it's Connor, and this is the fourth preparation video. Tomorrow we'll be connecting live and working together. I've seen some wonderful stories, and I think watching your stories, the videos that you've shared, reminded me once again of what a privilege it is to be part of EO. In fact, yesterday myself and my family were currently on holiday in Portugal. We headed down to the far west coast of Portugal, and we spent the day at a hotel that is owned by the current EO Portugal president. And we spent the day with her husband, their family, my family together, seeing the business that they've built in Portugal over the last 20 years, sharing stories about life, talking about our kids, listening to our kids tell stories about their experiences of watching our businesses as they have grown. And Cheryl, I love your story of as an 8-year-old wanting to change the world, and how you remember that again. Running through the streets of Adelaide the cold morning preparing for a marathon. And David, the turtle rescue. I've loved listening to these stories. One challenge I would have for all of you is how to get these stories down. So one of the things is people love stories, but learning to tell stories in 15-20 seconds and get that image and that emotion across is really powerful. So I would challenge you just to re-record and see if you can cut it down to the essence. One single scene that you can paint that's the core of the story. And one of the powerful things with storytelling is the audience will fill in a lot of the gaps. In a way, if you can create a very clear image of a moment, whether it's on a beach when you're a kid, at home listening to a question from your parents, in the freezing Adelaide morning as you watch the lights turn on, the less the details that you give, once you create the scene, the audience will fill in the gaps. And here, one of the powerful things of being able to tell a story in a very concise way is to let people put themselves into the story and imagine all the details that you've left out. But I think the stories that I'm seeing coming through are fantastic. The exercise for today, what I want you to do is go back and look at the point X, the action that you want this group to take when they finish hearing your words. And I want you to write down 20 benefits to them of how their life would be better if they took action. I want you to stop, take a pen, ideally set a timer for 3 minutes, because I want you to do this fast. I don't want you overthinking it. This is a writing exercise, but stop this video right now and for 3 minutes just write down all the ways the change that you are asking of the audience is it going to improve their quality of life. Is it going to make them richer? Is it going to make them feel part of something? Is it going to make them proud? Is it going to serve as a role model to their kids? What are all the ways? And often in this exercise, writing down some stupid or really absurd ideas will trigger creative thinking. So don't just stop at the first 3 ways that your change will make other people's life better. Really explore this option. So hit the pause now. Set a timer for 3 minutes and just write as fast as you can all of the possible ways that this change will increase the quality of life for the people that are listening. So I'm assuming you've come back now. You've got a page in front of you with at least 20 benefits, 20 ways the people listening to you, the people that you're seeking to have an influence on, their life will be better. And what I want you to do now is to choose the 3 most important of those benefits. And here, I want you to choose not the benefits that you like the most, but the benefits that have the greatest impact on the audience that you're speaking to. And what you will find is as the audiences change, so will what is important to them. So sometimes you can start with the same story, but the benefits that you're going to set out to an audience will change depending on what they value. So you're speaking to a group of 14-year-olds, different things affect their quality of life than 40-year-old accountants or an EO chapter. So right now, I want you to choose the 3 most important benefits for your audience in taking action. And what I'd like you to do and prepare for our session tomorrow is those 3 benefits, summarize them in 1 word each. So they will have more money, money. They will have more friends, friends. So you have 3 single words. And with those 3 single words, I want you to write them down, and you're going to put them in an order. And the order, I would like them, the most emotional of these benefits as the last one, the most rational, the least emotional as the first one. So for example, if the 3 benefits that you've chosen as the most important were cost, time, and children, then the one that is most emotional is likely to be children. The one that is most rational is going to be cost. So I want you to put the 3 words in order of the emotional impact that they would have for the audience. So the first argument you're going to give to people is the most reasoned. The final one is the most emotional. And this is an art rather than a science, so just go with your intuition in terms of which of the 3 benefits you feel is the one that reaches the heart and the one that reaches the head. And the first one is the most rational, the final one the most emotional. So I'm going to assume that tomorrow you'll be ready for these 3 words in order of emotion. And the final bit of homework, for the first word, I want you to find a statistic that supports that benefit. A statistic has 2 parts, source plus the number. So if you say 90% of people who live to 100 years old only eat vegetables, that's missing the source. You need a source plus the number. So a source, the World Health Organization, in a publication of January 2019, and then the number. So statistic is the source plus the percentage or the data or the number. And I'm going to trust you that if you don't have a lot of time, for the purposes of this exercise, you can invent a statistic that shows that you understand how you would use this type of data to support your speech. But I would like that you do go onto Google and find some data that really does support your first point in the form of statistics. So statistic is a source, a credible source, and the number. The second benefit to the audience, I want to use expert testimony. Expert testimony is the words of somebody else, the words of somebody who's highly credible in talking about this. So the second word, maybe an expert that's credible to this whole group would be Brian Barreau, the EO Global Chair of last year, and use the words that he has on why this is a good thing. So an expert, I want the name of a person who is highly credible to the group you're speaking to, and their words. So you're going to steal their credibility to support the second benefit. The third benefit, I want you to give an example. And an example is that this is already working in the world. An example is at some time in the past, this has already been tried and it's now working. So maybe if it was an educational change, you could say 4 years ago in Finland, they made exactly this change in all of the primary schools in Finland. Today in Finland, children at 12 years old are 1 to 2 years ahead of their peer groups in reading, maths, and literacy in other OECD countries. So it's an example that the benefit is already working. You share a story of where it has already had this positive impact. So again, you're going to have 3 benefits, which will be summarized in 3 single words. Word, word, word. The first word, you're going to find a statistic, the source plus the percentage. The second word, you're going to find an expert testimony, the name of a credible expert. and their testimony, the words that they have said. And third, you're going to give an example of where this benefit is already being seen. So a place that this has already been tried and it's working. One very powerful source of examples is your own life. So if meditation is something that you're talking about 4 years ago, you began a daily meditation exercise. Today, the person sitting in front of you is totally transformed from the angry, bitter, emotionally driven person you would have seen 4 years ago. So using your own life as an example, talking about the moment where you made this change and how it has changed your life, can be a very powerful example. So this is the work that I want you to do today, so that we can come ready and really work together to take your stories, the change, the 3 benefits, and really work together so that tomorrow you really develop a 3-minute powerful speech that will really begin to engage with people and make a real difference. And what I'd love to share with you, just as I have these few minutes before we connect tomorrow, is a story that for me is very powerful in reminding me of why I teach and why I lead. And in watching some of the stories that you shared by video yesterday, Cheryl, I loved your story. Meng, I loved your story. Adelaide, I think it was Tim, the running in the morning. David, I loved the turtle on the beach. The story for me that captures why we communicate it as leaders is a story that I heard years ago. And the story goes that there's a man who all of his life, he has had this incredible desire to know how is heaven and how is hell. And from childhood on, he has always wondered, how will it be? How will it be? How will it be? At the age of 50, God appears to the man, and he says to the man, "Man, you have spent all of your waking hours worrying and thinking and imagining how is heaven and how is hell. In order that you can live the final years of your life and in a bit of peace, I'm going to show you heaven and I'm going to show you hell so you can come back and enjoy life." So the man appears in front of a first set of gates. And the first set of gates are rusted, and there's fire, and it smells bad. And as the gates open, there's a horrific sound of metal grating. And they step into hell. And hell is an enormous space. It's like a big stadium. And the first thing the man notices as he steps through the gates into hell is a wonderful smell of food. And he looks around the room. There's thousands and thousands of people walking around the edges of this giant space. And he sees that each of the people walking in this space has their left hand holding their stomach. They're hungry, they're starving. And in their right hand, every single person is carrying an object that is higher than they are. And as he looks closer, there are giant spoons. And there's thousands of people in this hell walking around the edges, holding their stomach in pain, hungry, carrying a giant spoon. In the center of this room, he finds a big black cauldron, a big bowl. And as he looks inside, he sees that it is full of food. And there's a couple of beginners that have just arrived into hell. And he sees they take the spoon, they stick it into the food, they can get food onto their spoon, but the spoon is so long they can't get it into their mouth, and they're starving. And God says, "This is hell." The man appears in front of a new set of gates. These are platinum. There's clouds and little angels playing on harps. The gates open without a squeak. He steps into heaven. The first thing he notices, the same smell of food, the same space. It's exactly the same space. And everyone in this place is carrying exactly the same spoon. But in the center of this place, where is the cauldron full of food, what he sees are people approaching with their spoon, filling the spoon with food, and the first thing they do is serve someone else. The difference between heaven and hell is who you serve first. Any family can be heaven or hell, depending on the decision each member of that family is taking. Do I look to serve me first, or do I look to help others first? Every EO chapter can be heaven or hell, depending on how the members look at the decisions. Is it about what I get first, or is it about what I give first? And the role of leaders, and the role of communication of leaders, and the role especially of EO chapter presidents, is to find the way that no matter what the conditions are where you go into a group, a family, an organization, a company, that whatever the conditions are, whether they're conditions of hell or heaven, with your words, with your way of being, you can create a context where everyone decides to create heaven. And this is the reason that I want to work with you, to help you use words. Not to persuade people in the small things, but because with the good use of words, the good use of example, everywhere that you go can become heaven. And everyone around you can be part of groups where people decide to give first and then wait to see what comes back. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Again, thank you for your videos of the story. I would ask you to make them again, but get them down to 15, 20, 25 seconds. See if you can get the essence of the story in 20 seconds. And then write the 20 benefits, choose the 3 most important, and bring a statistic, an expert testimony, and an example for one for each of the 3. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We're going to work hard, but again, one of the things that I learned, the more you suffer in practice, the easier it is when the lights are on and people are really paying attention. Have a good one.